Welcome to the shop. Today I'm finishing up a little project for the RV for a remote control holder made in cherry. I'll be mounting that on the wall later today. But what I really want to get into is a backup system from Haloview. I'm going to show you what's in the box and get started on the project before it gets too hot outside. On the back of the box, you've got the specifications for the screen, frequency, and many other attributes. All right, looking in the box, we have a user manual and setup guide. We have the camera specifications, protective cover, camera with a mounting bracket already attached. These U-shaped mounting brackets you can also buy separately. We have a power cord. We also have sticky back mounting plate for your dash, Allen wrench, nuts that you can adjust the angle of your screen, some mounting screws, we have the monitor. This is a wiring harness, antennas, 12-volt adapter for your car, and connector cord, 2 connector cords. What I also purchased separately was the Haloview BF02 mounting plate, which comes with an adapter cord. So if you have a Farion camera mount, you will need this adapter cord. And I also purchased a suction cup mount because that's what I want to use in my car instead of this dash mount. So to make this work, you're going to have this adapter that comes with that extra plate that was to replace this plate. So what I've done is drilled a 3/4 inch hole to accept this grommet. Now that grommet has to feed through this mounting bracket. So I'm going to see if I can squeeze that through. And then what I need to do is drill 4 mounting holes for the bracket. So we'll work on that next. All right, so we have our bracket faceplate installed. This little antenna cover, we'll go over that. You'll have 4 little screws, to put in. Putting those little screws in can be a little difficult if you have big fingers. You don't want to over tighten these. It's plastic. Okay, then we'll get our side screws in and we'll put a little drip edge on here. I'll show you that. Okay, when you're done, you should have something that looks like this. So your trailer vertical wall will be here. Screw heads here. So you'll be able to tilt this. And if you install it incorrectly, all you have to do is unbolt your bracket, flip it 180 degrees, and try it again. To finish up the installation, install your hood. Make sure that this edge is the long edge sticking out. That'll help prevent glare from sun. Now we're ready to go outside and install it and test. Okay, we're ready to do our install. This is the wiring the way it comes from the factory, and I'm a little leery of pulling wires in and out and maybe disconnecting, so I'm going to just put some tape around those wires in case I have to pull it back out again. It's less likely to disconnect me from my 12 volts. So push that up in there. So we can plug in. And what I may do, I think, is actually cut a slit in here so I can push more of that wire back in there. Make a much neater installation. Yeah, that's going to be much nicer, and I can still pull a little loop down for a drip edge. So we'll get some screws started. And I'll just do this kind of loosely for now. I think I'll just put in 2 screws. And then we can test. I think one issue is going to be this antenna. It seems to me we have to have a notch up in here to make that work. So that'll be our next little project. It appears the way I wanted to mount that is not going to work because the antenna is in the way of that Furrion housing. So I've had to order a bracket. 1-day shipping from Amazon, should be here tomorrow, so we'll continue the video then. It is the next day, and this is the bracket that I needed. It was 1-day shipping with Amazon. I was able to slip this grommet off from here without cutting it. We're going to be reusing this plate. And I made a little notch so I could get the plug-in through. And what we're not going to need is this plate that went over this housing for the Furrion camera. So we'll set that aside. And we will need this hood over the camera. So with this bracket, you get 4 screws with nylon nuts that will require a 5/16 inch driver. So we'll assemble that and we'll be ready to take it outside. When you're done, you should have your cord going through your rubber plate, screw head with the nut to the rear. Should have enough cord for a loop for dripping down the water, and your camera mounted so that you can go horizontal right out the back, or be able to substantially tilt that down, and some flexibility in your hood. Remember this side of the hood, which is longer, that would be your sun shield. Before I start with the mounting, I wanted to make sure I cleaned all of the silicone and dirt off of there. So here's a pro tip. Start with some WD-40, rub that silicone, and finish it off with some Protectol. You'll get a nice clean surface. Okay, before I install, what I want to do is add a little bit of silicone to this top edge to get a nice seal. A little bit around each hole. Start a screw here. Okay, just gonna get some screws lined up here. Making sure I hit all my same holes. That looks pretty good. So I'm seeing this is bulging out a little bit at the top. I don't know if that's from the heat or not. We'll run a bead of silicone across that top edge. And put some tape on these corners to make sure that's all held down. So that's it for the installation. When we check the monitor, you can see if your camera is in the right position, and once it is, you can tighten those screws. With this bracket, you can mount the monitor on the ceiling of a truck, on the dash if you wish, or you can use the stock mount, which has a T-nut or a suction cup on your window. And the instructions don't tell you this, but that T-mount does not go on the bracket. It goes in a slot on the back of the camera. There's also some wiring harnesses that you can use for specific applications. In this case, this wiring harness is used if you have more than one camera, like a left and a right and a center. and you would hook up these various colored leads to your left and right turn signals and brake lights. On the top of the monitor, there's also a slot for a USB card so that you can record what's going on. It will take up to a maximum of 128. So to make the camera work, first thing you want to do is plug in your power source, which I have here. If I go over and turn on my lights, you'll notice I don't have anything. So go back here, make sure you have this button pressed in so that you have power. And then your monitor is going to light up. If you don't have your lights turned on, the monitor won't come on. Now I have my headlights on, I'm going to turn them off. And so now I just have running lights, and you see I still have power. So let's look at some of the functions. We have a menu button, we have a left and a right arrow, which can also be used to brighten or dim your screen. You have a select button, OK button, and a power button. Go into the menu, and you'll see there's an icon for volume, picture, mirror, Q code, settings, etc. If we go into the volume and hit OK, you'll see we have an arrow at the top. We have a mute button. See, that's muted. You can go back to the menu, go to picture, hit OK. You can select your brightness, contrast, and color. You can go to the mirror. And here we should be able to adjust the brightness. Hit OK. Go into the parking line and hit OK. We can hit the parking line adjustments and display. I'm not sure how that's going to work. There, we hit adjust. Let's go back. Hit 1, hit OK. How do I get it down to display? There we go, display. Okay. It's set up on camera 4, so if you have various cameras, you'll be able to set up those in your menu. So that's it for a quick overview of the Haloview. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you learned something like I did, especially on what kind of attachments you need to hook this up to your unit. It's a learning experience for all of us. It's not a 15-minute installation. You'll maybe run into a hiccup here or there. But if you have a rig similar to mine, you're going to need that standoff bracket. You're not going to need that plate that goes on the housing, and you're not going to need the housing itself. Well, thanks for joining me on this little excursion into backup cameras. I hope you've learned something. I know I certainly did. I learned some things I shouldn't have done. Thought I would have a hookup that could use that shroud that came with the RV. That wasn't the case, but it all worked out in the end. And don't forget to format your card when you put it into the camera. So until next time, be well. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe.